MLS is finally back, and we had a pretty interesting opening weekend, Connor.
All the CCL teams looked bad.
Yeah, they weren't great, but we'll discuss. Here in LA, everyone's happy though.
And a couple of firsts from Caleb Wiley and Alex Bato.
That's right, we'll talk about all that, give our Player of the Week picks, and choose our favorite MLS meme from match day 1.
So get in the chat and join us.
It's all happening right now on the Expansion Mansion.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome into the Expansion Mansion. It's episode 2, and we finally got some Major League Soccer to talk about. Inject it straight into my veins. Okay, let's talk about who is on this deck this season, starting with the one, the only, Max Bretos.
Love the shirt, Connor.
Thank you.
You need a mustache and a red Ferrari. That's a dated reference, but many people know.
Magnum
what I'm
PI.
talking about.
Tom Bogart knows what's up.
Tom Bogart, yes. It's Magnum PI.
Philly, welcome back.
What's going on, fellas? I'm kind of wondering, how the heck did you guys get changed so quickly from the intro up until now? It's like magic.
I'm glad
Illusions.
someone noticed.
Yeah.
We'll-
Ha! You thought
Foiled again.
I was going to have a hat on, but I don't. I changed.
I'm glad you took the hat off. I like
I liked the hat.
your face is very
What do you call
symmetric.
this? Is like kind of Big Lebowski.
I know, it is very bold.
Throw a couple frames.
Very bowler shirt.
So welcome
White Russian.
back, Vince LaRosa.
All right, let's get to the show before people get bored with us, right? All right, but hey guys, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That will help us get more viewers. And if you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified when we're doing things like this, aka going live. So do it now.
Thumbs
well,
up.
don't have to leave to do it, but please do
No,
it
we're
now.
looking at all of you. Soccer USA, Daniel, Gomez. Click that bell.
We know that they've
We know
already
you're
done
there.
it.
Click
Those
it.
are
Yeah,
those
you
are our
like
people.
that.
Those
We
are our
like
good
that.
people.
We like that from you guys.
All right, guys, if you watched LAFC 360 earlier today, which you should have been unless you were working, you already know. But if you're just tuning in, here's what to expect from #trending. Every weekend, there will be storylines, headlines, if you will, or what the kids like Connor call vibing on social media. You'll have to explain
Vibing?
that to me.
Don't say that.
I can't say it?
No. There's only terms in
Is there
which
a-
only a certain generation can
Is
say
there an
them.
age limit? Can Bretos say it?
No chance.
Okay. All right, guys. These are our
See right
favorite.
through me, right?
These are our favorite headlines in #trending fan. Guys, let's start out hot. The CCL teams. They played well in CCL,
Why are you
well
laughing?
in MLS. Wait, why are you laughing?
No, some good camera time there for. It was just a nice tender moment of the show. I like.
Okay. Well, let's
Tender.
Very.
let's get back on track. CCL teams. MLS has had every kind of excuse for why they didn't do well in CCL. What are the team's excuses for in MLS?
Tired legs.
They invested too much into the Concacaf. We usually hear that's the exact opposite, that they're not ready, but they were clearly ready. Then they had. But as a collective group, there was something missing. None of the teams, of the 4 teams that played, none scored a goal, and all 4 lost. New England didn't play, didn't look great. At least.
Seattle was the team last year that we felt like they should have gone farther, and they didn't put any into it. And then this year, they crushed the team in the second leg, and then they looked really, really tired. But we talked for LAFC, like all these teams have more depth. Like what is actually going on here? I mean, even New England didn't even play, and they looked tired.
It's just. I mean, it's the Concacaf Champions League. That's what happens. These teams are, first games of the season, right? And for Colorado, look, they go down to Guatemala for the first leg, don't get a result, unfortunately, to Colorado, and it's like below freezing temperatures almost. And look, you can say that Colorado, they should have the advantage because they play. Look, one has an advantage.
They proved that point.
Really? So, I mean, look, they went to penalties. They got the 1 goal counted offside because of VAR, and then the rest is history. But all fair play to Las Cremas because they're going through.
Say in a country there where the average temperature in February is 78 degrees to go somewhere where it's 9 degrees, still say that's a disadvantage. I don't like leaving my house when it's 60 degrees. So I can only imagine what those guys were taking the pitch in Colorado.
Well, at least you have that nice, very warm red coat.
Yes,
indeed. I should have done diligent research, but I'd love to see how the League MX teams, games like this, where they had a Concacaf Champions League. I'm sure there's a dip. I know for these MLS teams, it's okay if you drop some points in MLS. Let's get it right. I'm prediction about an MLS team winning it this year. I'm standing by it. I think there's some candidates there. Focus on that. The league needs it.
So Colorado we've all said that offside call was probably the correct one, but it was like tough to deal. Colorado was just kind of devastated by the result, or oh,
Echoey.
oh, that's just I
For
smoked a
everyone?
pack of cigarettes.
Back to the lucky strikes.
Yeah. But we only
They heard Jason though. Hey everyone, welcome back. Sorry about that. Tech difficulties. Let us know if it sounds a lot better. I think it does.
That's how it
I
works.
like the sound of my own
We're all
voice.
helping each other out here.
I was seeing you guys in the chat, trying to chat with you guys. Thanks. I like the shirt. I like the Hawaiian shirt vibe. But we were talking trending topics. So the topic that we were trying to talk through while the technical difficulties happened were CCL teams crashing out of CCL.
good against Mexican teams, not so much
Guatemalan
MLS
teams?
Well, I'm just referencing Montreal had a great result against the Mexican team, and then
Sure.
against Orlando, it didn't even look like they were there. They
Yeah.
eventually got a red card. They didn't want to be there at all. Romel Kyoto was like, oh, I'm out, and just removed himself from the game.
And then Colorado got thrashed by LAFC 3-0, and I know they got knocked out by Las Cremas. And then New England Revolution, they didn't even play in the CCL, and they looked a little shaky against Portland. So what's up with that, man?
I mean, I think in a situation in which there's the race to win the Concacaf Champions League for an MLS team, they're throwing everything that they can within these competitions. I mean, the next round of matches happens in a week. And sure, we've seen some great performances from that of a Montreal. Sure, we saw great performances by Seattle putting up 5 goals against Motagua. I was at the NYCFC game. I mean, they killed Santos. I mean, we could call a mulligan on these games if we could see an MLS team win a Concacaf Champions League.
I predicted that a MLS team is going to win the CCL. I'm sticking by it. There's still some great candidates, even without Colorado. New York City FC, who did lay an egg against the Galaxy, they were all out of sorts. So when I saw that, and then later that night we saw what happened with Seattle, you certainly got the feeling that there's just something amok here. Not just with not getting results, but not being able to score goals. I'm sure it's happened to Liga MX teams in reverse when they were successful. You got to get used to playing a couple games after not playing any games at all in a week. So I truly expect everyone to bounce back. There's some good candidates there, and the three teams that did make it through that played all got through convincingly.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's worth it, right? Especially because Seattle's the only team playing at home after their round in the CCL. So if you're Colorado, Montreal, New England, even to an extent, if you're going on the road, the CCL prize, if you can get it, is much worth it. And we know that for the first couple of weeks of MLS, I mean, yeah, you want to win games, but if you lose a couple, not a big deal. Like you're still in it.
Seattle knows all about that. They know about starting slow. That's kind of their MO. So nothing. And Nashville's a good team. And now we talked about teams in the Western Conference. Nashville's going to cause problems, and that is a Nashville-type victory. 1-0.
But there is the flip side of that, the form that you want to have rolling into that next week. I mean, is a disappointment. Like if you're, let's say Colorado had made it through and they didn't, but they get thrashed by LAFC. That would have been tough to then turn around and let's say have to take on like a Mexican side or something like that. Like if you're Montreal right now and you've got Cruz Azul next on tap, you would have liked to play at least reasonably well against Orlando because Cruz Azul's at least on par with Orlando, if not better. It's kind of a bummer, no? Or
by the way, some people are saying that they don't have the depth, and that's a very valid point. J33 Sizzle, it is.
Like that
but
name.
There's something about these MLS teams. There's a little more depth. Certainly with Seattle. Certainly with Seattle, look at them. Certainly with New York City FC, which we're supposed to lose some players, are still intact. Those two teams are well equipped depth-wise. Is it on the Liga MX standard? No, but it's getting pretty close.
yeah.
I mean, at least it's competitive now, right? I mean, past years, MLS teams would be knocked out almost immediately. But now you've seen a couple MLS teams in recent history kind of go the length all the way to the final, none of which have won the Concacaf Champions League yet. That at least...
If it happens like that, it means it's going to happen soon. It has to.
All I'm saying is now, whether it's a Liga MX team, whether it's a Canadian Premier League team, whether it's a team from Central America, these teams, if matched up against MLS teams, are going to have to try to be competitive. These are not juggernauts, but good teams you have to face to get to that final. It's not a walk in the park anymore in the Concacaf Champions League.
No, it isn't. And it is really exciting to see 4 MLS teams advance, and there is a good opportunity. We could see a couple of them in the finals. I mean, there's one team from Guatemala, a couple of teams from Mexico. Major League Soccer teams are starting to catch up to the rest of the fray, and that's an exciting thing. And you said earlier that you think an MLS team is going to win the Concacaf Champions League. I said last week I didn't, but after the previous set of matches, after seeing NYCFC do what they did, I'm feeling a bit more confident that an MLS team can do it this year.
They need to get a big result. One of these teams have to knock out a Pumas, a Cruz Azul, or a León, who are all capable of winning it. But if they can get that in this quarterfinal, because that's where the MLS teams fell apart last year. Get through there, get multiple teams in the semis.
All right, moving on. This weekend in MLS youth was served. Caleb Wiley seals the win for Atlanta, 17 years old. There was quite a young contingent across the league. Actually, LAFC is kind of the reverse of that. We brought in all veterans, but there's a lot of young guys coming through. Philly, you showed me New York just signed a 14-year-old?
A 14-year-old kid. I didn't even know how to tie my shoes at 14. I was wearing Velcro until then because I was afraid to learn. 14 years old signing.
We didn't have Velcro back in my day.
You didn't have shoes back in your day. They
No, we
barely
didn't.
invented the wheel. But I mean, a 14-year-old kid signing a professional contract, Freddie Adu-Who.
Caleb Wiley.
Pretty good.
Caleb Wiley also on his debut too. Not just 17 years old, but also on his debut.
Signed a
for
homegrown
Atlanta.
contract 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And in front of that home crowd, come on, that's gonna feel good.
You know what I saw posted today? Caleb Wiley has a picture with him and Joseph Martinez, and Joseph Martinez basically wrote, "Keep working hard, Joseph Martinez." That's
when he was younger.
when he was younger, when he was an academy kid. Isn't that's pretty cool? That's the type of story we want to hear. But like, MLS trend obviously is younger, but I think this is slightly different because this is younger and domestic.
Yeah, and without these clubs in Atlanta, he's from Atlanta.
Yeah.
What was the pathway for him a few years ago before there was an Atlanta United?
Correct.
Atlanta's doing very well. Remember the guy that he replaced, George Bello, was a good young. So the South is coming to life with development. I'm not talking about
South is
Georgia.
rising.
The South will rise again. Let's play some Leonard Skinner. We got a couple guys from Alabama. Chris Richards from, I don't know why it's Chris Richards,
like
Tanner
Chick
Tessman, guys from Tennessee, guys from Louisiana. These Southern clubs are finding that talent, so it's pretty good. I love Caleb Wiley. He looks athletic. I love the fact he's left-footed too. He's got a lot going for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think another guy, Jalen Lindsey, who is now with Charlotte. He's a Southern guy, but he had to go play.
Wasn't he
SKC.
from North Carolina?
Yeah, he's from North Carolina, but he had to go get
That's the
academy
South.
minutes at SKC because
Below the Mason-Dixon line,
But
really?
this is
Virginia's
this
below
is
the
the
Mason.
farther
Fair
the
enough.
point that soccer is growing in America, not just on the entertainment value and the amount of viewers watching the games, but talent is being produced by the mass numbers now. It isn't just like, you get a Landon Donovan once in a while. No, it's you get solid soccer players. Maybe not world beaters. You have a good league on your hands.
Yeah, great academies. Obviously, we saw a lot of the products that have come out of FC Dallas. The Union are doing great things. Obviously, Atlanta doing great things. Talk about Caleb Wiley again. I mean, the kid turned 17 in December. 17 in December, homegrown contract a month later, and then to score a goal in the 89th minute to pretty much seal the deal for Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, the young talent is rising. The South is rising. The U.S. is rising.
And you mentioned Philadelphia Union, which to me has the best academy right now. Because obviously you have Paxton Aronson, who looks like he's going to follow his brother to Europe. Jack McGlynn, a couple other guys whose names escape me. It used to be Dallas.
Fontana's playing in the second division in Italy.
So places you didn't expect. Philadelphia, the South, which tells you in New York and Los Angeles, South Texas, those places it's going to blow up at some point, and it will.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is he didn't just contribute. He helped them win the game, but teams are seeing that, like, you can get paid from this. Kevin Paredes played, like, half a season with DC, gone for $7 million. Obviously, Ricardo Pepi's the big one. Moises Neiman, probably not far away. So these teams are getting not just the money for it, but they're getting the results too. And so, I mean, Matt Doyle was always big on player kids.
Don't forget Gaga Slolina, #1 for Chicago, and he's 16.
Yeah.
As a goalkeeper, 6'4".
Sure doesn't look 16.
Well, what are your thoughts on the fact that they're comparing him to Gigi Buffon? Would you take any kind of offense to that?
Yes.
Italian?
Yes.
I figured you would. I was curious.
Gaga Slolina is going to be a very good player, but remember, he's 16, 17. Goalkeepers don't come really good until they're in their late 20s, so let's pump the brakes on
Kevin,
the
Let's give it 10 years and he's going to be 26.
Maybe Donnarumma. Maybe you start with Donnarumma, who's young and had those Gigi Buffon comparisons before you go that high.
Real quickly, Kevin with some great advice, and I think we were touching on it. Don't put too much pressure on these kids. You're absolutely right. Very important.
These kids are not listening to us.
They're not listening though.
Next up, we got a race that's really heating up.
From the top
to the bottom, the race to the wooden spoon.
Is that an accepted term in the United States? I thought it was more
At least in
Commonwealth.
MLS.
The wooden spoon.
in MLS has embraced it.
Yes, good.
So Cincinnati losing 5-0 to Austin, who didn't do that great last year.
Yeah, Austin's a team that you could actually consider might have been in that race a little bit. I mean, they've got some better signings, but haven't really performed.
And then Charlotte losing 3-0. I know we have said that they did play well, all things considered.
Yeah, Max and I are on. We're not too worried about Charlotte, I feel like.
No, I think they're going to struggle, but I was impressed how they played. They got unlucky with the goal that was disallowed, but they showed some fight. Granted, they didn't play a very good team in DC United, but FC Cincinnati, I don't think there's any
But
excuse.
the flip side is FC Cincinnati. Like, what is your excuse?
At least, I would say already call it quits this year. You know what I mean? Just play it out.
Play in
just
USL?
kind of cruise. Not go to USL, but just kind of cruise along the MLS season, and then you'll have a blank canvas for next year.
Yeah, but didn't Cincinnati, weren't they on board? And I know this sporting director has since left because they brought in Chris Albright, they brought in Pat Noonan. But weren't they on record of saying we need 4 more transfer windows to sort this out? How many more transfer windows do you need now?
You know,
Need 4 more years of transfer windows
And
for anything
you
to
know,
happen.
the funniest thing that I saw, not to just keep hating on Cincinnati, but they did lose 5-0 on the first day of the season against Austin FC.
Yeah.
MLS was posting all the teams' like newest additions on their socials, and everyone had, we had Kellen Acosta, Maxime Crepeau. Galaxy had Douglas Costa.
Or an
There's some
Alan
big names.
Velasco in
Lorenzo
Dallas
Insigne.
or Lorenzo Insigne.
But then Cincinnati had Alec Khan and
Which they needed.
Ray Gaddis as their 2 big additions.
You mean a guy that was retired
A
last
guy who was retired. Like, what?
Yeah.
They're going the MLS route. That was a little worrisome about their offseason, considering they had such a big offseason earlier with Acosta and Brenner. I have faith in what Chris Albright and Pat Noonan did with Philadelphia. It's just going to take a while. But the folks in Cincinnati don't have any reason to be patient. They have been patient long enough. They have that incredible stadium. They've created a culture. But if it doesn't get results, that's going to go away. Not the stadium. That'll stay there. But a lot of that else will
It's
leave.
funny, they let it go 2 minutes into the season. It kind of reminded me of that Family Guy skit where Stewie's at a Mets game and they say, here's the first pitch, and there goes the season. And that's pretty much like the equivalent of what's going on with Cincinnati. I mean, they even had an own goal at the end, although Gite's move to make that goal happen was still pretty darn cool. But statistically, they were behind the entire game. At least with Charlotte, they were in the game. They maintained possession. They had better passing accuracy. Cincinnati, that wooden spoon's going there, and it's a good thing because you eat chili with a wooden spoon. That Skyline chili is going to be fed with that wooden spoon this season.
Is there another candidate for the wooden spoon? Inter Miami, I thought looked okay. I thought they might be a candidate.
They weren't too bad.
Yeah.
Higuain was all right.
No, I mean,
Austin's obviously
was one, and they
improved.
played
Would
well.
we say the Whitecaps?
Nah, I don't
Not
think
yet.
so. They were just a playoff team, and we think they're going to get better. Max will know this name. Bob Euchre's from that area of the world. Maybe they need to have him as their play-by-play guy. He can turn it around.
What about this guy
bit
bringing up
outside.
the Mets in an MLS conversation? That might be a first.
Well,
I had to.
FC Cincinnati and Mets, what do they share? Colors.
Yes.
Yes, I
That's
do
true.
like that blue and orange.
And they both have great stadiums. and
They
yet
do.
They're very bad.
Although there is a foul stench coming from TQL Stadium, and that is FC Cincinnati.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about both LA teams. Celebrate victories, looking very good. We're a very happy LA soccer town right now. Obviously, LAFC dismantled Colorado. Galaxy did it a slightly different way, but they did it with their star player. How is LA feeling in the greater scheme of things?
Respect to the Galaxy for also beating the defending MLS Cup champs,
Yep.
who are currently playing in the CCL, who just thrashed
Who
their
looked like one of the
opponents.
most dangerous teams in the season.
Look, if you told me before the game, I thought that NYC, this would be a walk in the park for them, and it wasn't. The Galaxy were able to really make the game pretty tough. It looked like an MLS match, if you know what I mean.
I mean, there was 44 fouls in that game between two teams. Like, it was pretty darn physical. But to see Chicharito come into his zone, got a nice pass from Raheem Edwards, but he still broke Maxime Chinot's ankle. He still had to make that play happen, and he had a banger of a goal. What excites me, though, is maybe we're going to finally get to see Carlos Vela square off against Chicharito. That's something MLS has been dying to see. That's something we've been dying to see.
Max Bretos tweeted that out. How long did you wait to tweet that out after the Galaxy?
A good 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I want to see April 9th, Dignity Health Sports
Will
Park.
be
They're
the
going to play. We have
marquee
not seen
matchup of the
Chicharito
year.
Vela, and the publicity's all been Chicharito Vela. We would love to see it. You look at the rosters of these two teams, they're going to have good seasons. And make no mistake, we're in Los Angeles, and the local news are covering both these teams. It's in the bloodstream. When they didn't make the playoffs combined last season, this was ringing alarm bells in the MLS offices. This is a flagship town. Both these teams need to make the playoffs. Not one, both of them, so that you have an healthy MLS. I think they both do. They got to stay healthy, but they look really good. I love what Greg Vanny's been doing at the Galaxy.
And I will say for the LAFC fans who are watching right now, as well as maybe some Galaxy fans, I'm not telling you not to hate the other team, because I love passion and rivalry. There's no other person on a fan basis that doesn't like the Galaxy more than I do, but we want both teams in LA to do well. You want
Hate them when you play each other.
Not just making the playoffs, but both Chicharito scoring goals, Vela scoring goals only makes that El Tráfico derby.
Imagine a Western Conference final between these two
Yeah, 'cause
teams.
the-
This
the-
city would
nuts.
get
It would be
bonkers.
nuts.
Well, the fact of the matter is this. Look, RSL was in the playoffs last year, and that was a cute little story. David Ochoa was fun.
That was
but
the only
when
story.
they win a game without taking a single shot, can't have that. You got to have
Seattle,
the LA teams
2016
in
MLS
instead,
Cup.
because you know a Galaxy is at least going to have the star power that they're going to muster a shot on goal against Seattle, and obviously we know LAFC, so you got to move on from the RSL.
Anyway, but very good for both LA teams.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next little game here. You guys remember fill in the blank, right? Like Mad Libs? Connor?
Yeah, Mad Libs.
Mad Libs.
Little,
Mad Libs has stood the test of time that even you
they have.
That's pretty good. Well, this is basically that. We're going to be given a phrase to complete. None of us know what that phrase will be, not even me. And I know everything. Okay,
is
let's kick
watertight.
things off.
All right, who's going
He
first?
knows everything.
It's called Tap In Merchant.
Oh.
And basically, like we said, it's all you got to do is the finish. You put it out there.
Oh,
all you
we're
gotta
tapping
do is the
it in.
finish. You got to tap it in.
just tap
so
in
I'll
the
read
blank.
it. You guys fill in the blank. So maybe you guys like whoever comes up with the first one,
Okay.
just go for it.
Family friendly, right?
Okay. All right, here we go. Here's the first one.
We can all scream up if we get something.
The first one, I'm going to have to read it from the big one. The most impressive win this weekend was
LAFC.
Austin, because
Austin.
they were able to get some. They were able to just exercise last season.
I'll go with Austin too because LAFC didn't surprise me.
But-
Although somewhat surprising, like we didn't think they'd be that good that quick. But I mean, we talked in the last show that still need
And I just
temper
want
it
to
a
say,
little
we've
bit,
been
but-
crapping on Cincinnati for the past two shows, but let's give some credit to Austin for coming into their second season when their first season was not good, coming into their second season with a 5-0 win, the biggest win on opening day
Good point.
of all time in MLS. So
Gomez Jr. says Nashville.
I like that
Going to
shout
Seattle.
because they went to a new conference and they beat the top dog in that conference. So Nashville
yeah, fair.
with a real wake-up call to the West that they're not here just to make up the numbers. They're a very good team. But I did my top 10 DP rankings. I did not have Sebastian Driussi on there. He might be on that list when we do it in a few weeks because he looked really good for Austin.
Call back to
Dominguez.
Mex's top 10. Join us when we're going to have that. And for you guys in the chat, this is exactly what we want you to do. Get in there. Let us know
Maybe
your tap in for this one. So let's move on to the next one. You guys play along with us. Let's see what we got here.
Bum bum.
This is exciting.
Alex Pato's first MLS goal was.
Long awaited. Long awaited. I mean, he came in with such high expectations last season. Unfortunately, he sustained a knee injury, only played 5 games, 0 goals, 0 assists. Maybe this is what he needs to get on track and start doing things down in Orlando.
I am shocked he's still a professional footballer.
He's only
young.
32.
He's still
I
young.
know, but like just
So many
think
injuries.
about everything that he's done throughout his career. It's crazy to me.
People don't understand. This was the next big thing to come out of Brazil. He was the
golden boy.
biggest star to come out of Brazil, and obviously had a nice career in Italy and briefly in the Premier League. Right? Was it Chelsea or?
Chelsea.
Yeah, but
So,
barely
I mean, this guy, he's still relatively young. So I feel good for Pato, and you could see it etched on his face. So I'm going to say cathartic, just kind of.
But good
I
for
use that
himself.
word a lot, but
I
it
say 2
was.
words.
You could see it dripping off.
I'm
him.
going to say was a team goal. I mean, it really was. I think it was like a 13-pass move. It really was engineered by Oscar Perea in the way he kind of sets up his team.
Yeah.
Pato just had to finish.
Somebody
But
said Orlando
he did.
looked good. They really did as a
Yeah,
team.
but he did. He just had to finish, but he did. So you got to give credit where it's due. He was in the right place at the right time.
And I will say, again, for all of you biased viewers, I'm as biased as they come. I like
couldn't
it when
tell with your hat.
I like it when MLS teams do well. I like that Pato scored. I liked these players coming in, finding their feet. I don't want Chicharito to get injured. I don't want Pato to get injured. I want this team to be at its best every single week.
Yeah, no more 0-0s like Houston are.
Yeah, we don't.
Orlando,
I
an
want
MLS Cup threat, by the way.
I want to be entertained by Colorado versus Nashville on a.
I mean, we need true
On a
games.
Wednesday night.
Where the games from up and down the schedule are compelling, that's when we know this league will have made it. Okay, next one. The best thing about MLS opening weekend was
The fact that it was
Carlos
MLS
Vela's
Open.
hat trick.
I was going to say the fact that it just was MLS opening weekend.
I like that.
It came through
Yep.
earlier than expected because obviously it's a World Cup season. I like the fact that we started early.
I was going to say the kids, under 21 and under.
Kids.
The kids, whether American developed players, we talked about Caleb Wiley and Gaga Slolina, but Facundo Torres at Orlando certainly comes to mind. Talis Magno didn't play great, but he's playing for New York City FC, so all those young players from here or abroad, I thought brought a really exciting layer. And that's reason enough to watch MLS, because these guys are going to be playing somewhere. Talis Magno might be playing at Man City in a few years, who knows?
I'll agree with Philly. I don't take any hard drugs. Sorry, Max, but but
Not so hard.
But Major League Soccer
Advil.
is my thing. It's my favorite thing to watch all the time. I just love that it's back and better than ever. So
It's all about microdosing. Wait,
Yeah.
what was I talking about?
Max?
What are you guys talking about? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Too
I
old
don't know
for
either.
that.
Did we have another tap-in merchant, or should we?
Yeah, let's get a quick one in. Let's get a quick one in.
Yeah, we got to just move on. We do not have another one. It's actually to you, Connor, to move us along.
You know what? I like memes.
I bet you do.
They are the spice that makes social media so delicious, right? There were some great ones from this weekend, some dunking on Cincinnati as we did, which is too easy, some ripping the PIDs apart, like LAFC, and others too spicy to put on the show. You know, we're trying to avoid any content strikes.
Yeah.
There you go.
A little spicy? No? All right, so without further ado, here is our choice for Meme of the Week. What do you guys think?
Can't wait.
Here it comes.
Ready?
It's like, is it
Ready?
Connor?
Ready?
Is Connor the meme of the week?
Is it just my face?
People in the chat, if you could make Connor a meme, I would love it.
All right, ready?
Here we go.
Vancouver Whitecaps went to lower.com field for nothing. I get it because the score line was 4.
Hey, Miguel Berry. That's the one to watch.
Derek
That's another
Etienne.
young
Etienne.
star to watch.
Celeron.
And this
still
is
young.
courtesy of official MLS memes on Instagram.
We love a good pun.
Yeah, it
Do we
is.
feel like you said you think
I'm not a big pun
Vancouver
fan.
is going to be a wooden spoon contender. Do you really feel that way?
No, I don't think they're going to be a wooden spoon contender, but losing 4-0 against, look, Columbus is good. but
Columbus
if-
Crew were the champs just the year prior.
I know,
though.
but it's Miguel Berry and Derek Etienne Jr. I'm sorry.
No,
like,
Miguel Berry's
Nagby, Zelarayan, they'll be
he's
good.
good, but not like, he's not Chicharito. So come on, 4-0.
Chicharito
Get
is
outta
really
here.
Chicharito.
Okay.
More memes?
Moving on, not more memes. I know you love
One and
memes,
done?
Max. Yeah, we're
Aw.
one and done.
One and done.
But for you guys that are in the chat, the memes are something that you guys can send to us. We'll use your memes. Tell us what your favorite memes are. We would love to do that.
Yeah, tag us at 110
Yeah,
Football.
tag us
on
at
anything.
110 Football on social media. We'll use your memes. We'll give you a shout out. All right, let's get back to Concacaf Champions League, shall we? Last week, the Concacaf Champions League round of 16 came to a close, and there were some surprises to say the least. The quarterfinals don't start for another week, but we wanted to dive in while the results are still warm. Let's start with a couple teams that let's start with the ones that won't be playing next week. Colorado and Santos. what do we make Colorado and Santos crashing and burning? They should not. Neither of them should have been crashing out at this stage in the competition. Am I right?
Well, Santos shouldn't have lost to Montreal, but Santos have got their issues. I mean, they're struggling in Liga MX. Colorado did not get the reinforcements they want. Even without them, they should have gotten by Comunicaciones, which was one of the great names in world football. So hats off to the team from Guatemala.
And credit where credit's due for Montreal.
Montreal looked
came
amazing.
in a pretty bad situation to move forward in the CCL, and they won big. Jordi Mihalovic with a goal too.
Right.
Looking good.
And their reward for winning big, Cruz Azul.
Ouch.
But hey,
I felt the way LAFC's Concacaf.
Cruz Azul.
2020 Concacaf
But look, if they're able to
right?
beat Cruz Azul and make it to the semis and maybe to the final, that's a story.
I think they have a shot. I think they have a shot
I
against
think they're
Cruz
going to
Azul.
get smoked like a brisket.
Wait, no. Well,
I'm hungry.
let's talk this out real quick.
Amen.
How will they have a shot? In what way? What do they need to do?
Well, they've got to play as swashbuckling style like they did against Santos.
So club to foot.
Going
Pirates
after
now?
it. I mean, they kept pressuring where Santos had to submit, and it was Kyoto and it was Mihalovic. They've got to stay organized, but it was. I hate to think it was a blip on the radar, but it was a Montreal team with conviction, and I think they could duplicate it. There is talent there, well coached, keeping it together. Cruz Azul is not playing at the level that we have seen in the last couple of years. I think they had a bad result this weekend too.
No Jonathan Rodriguez.
So there's a shot there. I'm very intrigued by that matchup.
Here's the plan.
Hot take.
Remember, Montreal had a big run to the final back in the day as well.
They did. But here's the plan. And I'm guessing the first leg's going to be in Montreal, so drop that one. Lose it 3-0. Go to Mexico City, play in Cruz Azul. They'll think, 3-0, we got this. Cruz Azuliado.
Wow,
It's
that
over.
would be ultimate.
That's what you do. You just
One heck of a roll of the
use
dice.
it to your advantage.
I'm going to
Just
say
saying.
this: if they lose 3-0 at home, maybe at the Olympic Stadium, which is where I think they played last time, right?
Yeah, I think so.
They're not going to advance.
Okay, you're probably right. All right, let's move on to the teams that did well. NYCFC looked like the best team in the competition. Seattle also hammering a lesser competition in Montagua. Thoughts?
And I was at that NYCFC game, and at no point was Santos ever into that match. Santos of Costa Rica, by the way, not obviously Laguna. They look great.
Or Sao Paulo.
Or Sao Paulo, yes. Their passing was on point. Tyus Magno looked pretty good. Obviously, Thiago, their new pickup, he looked good too. I mean, they were a team that looked like they can go far, not only within Concacaf Champions League, but they looked like they could be set up pretty well for MLS. Literally, Santos had no prayer that entire match.
So they're on the side of the bracket where they might have to play each other at some point. Seattle, NYCFC. Who do you guys think has the better?
I like that. Those are two
At
big
winning
names
CCL.
in MLS.
It's-
You would almost rather they don't play each other until the final, but
Yeah.
they'd have to play each other to get to the final.
Well, that would be great if they did make the semifinals. Santos have to get by Leon, which have stubbed their toe in this competition in recent years to LAFC. Because of the Comunicaciones result, you have to think New York City FC a heavy favorite to make it to at least the semifinals. If it's New York City FC, LFC Seattle, we can really start to put fire on the fact that an MLS team could win this. Maybe they get help. You have Montreal and New England on the other side, but that side of the bracket where the MLS clubs have a real shot.
That's the best side of the bracket, though, like you said, right? Leon's on that side. I tend to think that NYCFC is they're my team to beat. I think that they can take this. I really do.
The whole
I think
thing.
If an MLS team's going to take it, it's going to be NYCFC, just because they have that mix of kind of grit with like the Chanot, the Collins, and then you have the youngsters in Tyus Magno. You know who I really love? Santi Rodriguez. That's my guy. When he's playing well, that team plays
He's
really
a big he came through the City group. He's a guy that that Manchester City
banker?
relationship has done it. So no.
It's with a Y, not an I.
yeah.
I just want to give a shout out to the Comunicaciones.
Yeah.
You did it this time.
You said it right the first time.
Comunicaciones.
Their goalkeeper in the penalty shootout against William Yarborough came up big time. I mean, that was probably one of the most entertaining penalty shootouts, other than Chelsea-Liverpool. But no, it was a very fun. So look, I'm not saying NYCFC isn't going through, but I'm just going to say now it's competitive. Now it's anyone's game.
That's a really good candidate for MLS, New York City FC, but we got to see them do it.
I'm just saying, they got the mix of talent and the experience. And Soccer USA is with me at NYCFC.
And yes, that is a Defenders of the Bank pin, Daniel. Thank you very
and
much.
Seattle's got to get Rui Diaz back because he didn't play this weekend. So that's
Peruvian
key.
Pistolier.
We've kind of previewed it a little bit. What's the best matchup in this next round for you guys? What's the one that you got to watch it? You're gonna be watching it no matter what.
Montreal, Cruz Azul.
Yeah.
Easy.
Why?
It's the MLS, Liga MX. I think those are two very big teams. Both pulled together a good result. I mean, Cruz Azul played Forge FC, so they kind of had a walk in the park.
That's your
but-
team, though.
Well, Sure, because I'm a Canadian Premier League fan.
After
but
the first leg, there was still some drama in it. So
okay,
yeah.
that first leg, it should have been 0-0. The goal that Forge let in was a Forge own goal, technically.
Yes.
That wasn't a Cruz Azul scoring. That was Forge FC somehow.
So you're not calling that a screamer from distance?
No. So I think this is a game that Montreal can show that they're really in contention, other than the other side of the bracket, Seattle NYCFC. That's who we keep talking about. But I'm saying, like, Montreal could easily sneak their way into the final.
I don't think anyone wants to play Montreal. I have the same pick as the best quarterfinal matchup because of what Montreal were able to do in that first leg against Santos. I think the Liga MX teams are on guard going, what do we know about this team? And they'll think about it. Many years ago, that the then Montreal team made that huge run, but there's something very dangerous about this squad. And I think with Kyoto dipping his toe in the fountain of youth and finding it, Mihalovic on a tear to get back into the good graces of the men's national team, they are a dangerous team.
I'm interested in New England Pumas because Bruce Arena normally sets up his teams to play so well against MLS teams, but this might be his first team that actually could do something really big in international competition, but I'm still not sure. They just seem so set up for MLS and not so for the continental game. Maybe that's just me.
If it is, in fact, an all MLS semifinal, I will, cry because of.
I mean,
the
all
fact
4
that,
teams in the semis?
hypothetically.
It could happen.
I would cry because I would already know that an MLS team is going to the FIFA Club World Cup.
Well,
Just pretend it's a regular week in MLS.
do you think it'll happen though? Like, pick your semis. What's the semi going to be?
What do you mean?
Like, who do you think's going to make it? Who do you actually think's going to make it into the semi?
You want me to pick my bracket really quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. NYCFC.
Okay.
I think Seattle's going to make it. I think they're going to beat
okay.
Santos. I think Montreal's going to make it, but I think it's going to be Pumas.
Here's
I
the
don't-
bracket.
Wow.
I don't.
Those
I-
three
I- I
MLS
don't-
teams.
Seattle
I don't-
and Leon,
I
not
think-
Santos. Santos is already out.
Sorry. Yes, against Leon. So I think Seattle is going to be able to pull out. I mean, look, they crushed Montugua.
Yeah, but
Motagua.
But they have
I
a
think
pretty, they have a
Cincinnati
pretty good
might have
team.
a shot
I see Seattle doing it. I see NYCFC doing it. I see Montreal beating Cruz Azul, but I don't see I'm not convinced.
so Pumas are the only Liga MX contenders still in.
I'm not
All
con-
4
I'm not
MLS teams have a shot in their quarterfinals. It could be 4 MLS teams in the semis.
two.
It could be none. It really could. They're all
Which
going to be
means it's
tight.
setting us all up for the heartbreak of MLS. We're going to lose.
You are correct.
The good, the bad, and the ugly isn't just a
Wait a
movie I've
minute.
never seen.
Click on Max Day.
I'd also never heard of it until reading this copy on the screen, but I'm told it's a good movie and that I should watch it, so maybe I'll add it to my list. But we like to be positive here on this show, so we'll ignore the latter two and instead focus on the good.
That was a roundabout way to get to that.
Guys, who is your MLS player of the week? Philly?
It's a no-brainer. The guy who absolutely needed to come through for a contract for his team was Carlos Vela. So we talked about this last week. His contract expires in June. And so there is no offer, but as per Taylor Twellman, there may be a negotiation, 18 to 24-month deal potentially happening. But he came out and he scored 3 goals. He came out very big. A penalty kick, which, look, Carlos Vela doesn't always convert on penalty kicks. He had one. And then a second goal, pushing Abubakar off him. He muscled Abubakar, a guy who's a pretty thick dude with his own right. And then that third goal was incredible, Carlos Vela-esque. But despite the fact that he had a hat trick, what I loved about him, the passion that he played with. And there was one sequence, I think in the second half, where he ran back on defense and ended up getting a whistle, a foul blown against him. But you can see him running back. He was fully engaged. He clearly wants to stay in LA, and he gave that indication to all of us that based on his performance. Player of the week, I think you said it earlier, if you have a hat trick by default, you need to be the player of the week.
You do need to be the player of the week. But hey, I said that in rehearsal. Don't throw that away. Before I move forward with mine, I'm going to point out that Kevin S. in the chat reminded us that Max Bretos was a model, bro. Connor. So don't be calling him ugly. He was a
Well, I
model.
forgot I was going to do
Milan.
that bit, and then I got to the ugly
York and
part, and
Japan.
He was just
Said
too close.
I
Bretos.
just naturally
Oh,
pointed to.
so then the
See, I was
producer set
originally going to
Max
do
up to
like a
fail there.
very fun bit where I went the good, the bad, maybe the advanced.
No ugly here.
Well, I'm just stalling because my pick is Carlos Vela as well. Like Philly said, when you score a hat trick, it's pretty much default.
Technically how you said.
That you're going to be playing. Yeah, you said it for me, but they didn't get to see the rehearsal. Once again, that's not for public consumption.
Stupid.
But all of Philly's points were brilliant. The big thing I'll point out though is it's not just going for the contract. The guy's just having fun, man. Yeah. He's having a good time. He's smiling. I don't know what you guys are high-fiving about because
What are you talking comments?
We're the
Let's do
ugly
another one.
ones.
Let's do it on
That's what
camera.
we
High
high
five.
five.
Okay. All
Max and Connor are babes, you and I
First
aren't.
one was so good.
Did we get on camera that they missed their high five?
That's
No,
right.
that was this already.
All right. Well, I've been talking about Vela.
Thank you, Gerardo. Thank you,
know what,
Kevin.
It's Vela. Let's move on to
Cancun
Max.
FC or
Max,
Los
do
Cabos?
you have somebody different?
I think we
Vela?
should have I think there's room for a Mexican team in MLS. I think it would be an interesting expansion if possible, considering there's no promotion relegation. I too will say Carlos Vela.
Not gonna want to spend that money though.
I too will say Carlos Vela. You have to say it. When you think of the last 2 years he's had, all that he's gone through, with obviously the pandemic, which everyone had to, but injury after injury, couldn't get healthy. To come out there, you could see it etched on his face where he just said, it's back. Because when you get to the age of 32, 33, coming off injuries, you have to wonder if you're going to play at a premium level. He did everything a classic Carlos Vela could do. Technical, he was hot. Cold-blooded in his finishing. He was strong in those setups. And I love what you said about the penalty, because if he misses that penalty, the conversation around LAFC, and this game could have gone much differently, does Carlos Vela take penalties, move forward? Chicho was so good last season. Carlos Vela took it, so that penalty was no minor detail.
Well, I mean, if he misses that penalty, who knows what happens in the rest of the game if he scores 3 or 2, and then the conversation isn't, oh, Carlos Vela, MVP, Player of the Week. It's, oh, should
we have Chicho taking penalties?
Should Carlos still be on the team? Should we pay him?
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of injuries, I hurt my back sleeping, so.
Man, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world.
Is that what happens when you get old?
Get a better pillow.
I just got to resituate this pillow.
Spend money on a good pillow.
My Player of the Week, although, of course, it's Carlos Vela, right? MLS even announced it themselves. I'll just give an honorable shout out to Michael Estrada. 2 goals on his debut for DC United, 1 being a penalty, and then, again, it was against wooden spoon contender Charlotte FC, although they did play fairly good, all things considered, their first ever MLS game.
They were going to go up 1-0 and had to have VAR erase it.
And VAR erase it, which was...
It's tough.
It was pretty funny, though.
I think,
watching it as a neutral, seeing Charlotte score the first goal, and I was like, oh, yeah, and then... Oh, no.
I tweeted, I said, congratulations to Charlotte for your first goal. You'll never forget it. And then I checked back 30 minutes. I go, delete.
It's an extreme example, but it does show us how VAR has changed the game, because it does mess with your mentality. You thought that you had the first goal ever in Charlotte history. You don't have it, and then you're just kind of not in the rest of the game. And you kind of can't blame them, but we all kind of sit here and think they're not going to be quite as bad as everyone is starting to think just because of that 3-0 loss.
But just to reiterate, Michael Estrada, 2 goals.
He's very good.
2 goals on his first game, on his debut. You can't deny that. Chicharito had a good game as well. So did Dominguez. 2 goals on the night for Austin FC.
How about old Jacob Schaffelberg?
You know what? Speaking of players around the league, Team of the Week came out. Raheem Edwards with the assist to Chicharito's goal. We had some very fun picks.
The Team of the Week is always a point of contention. And
Let's check it out.
Here's the thing. Raheem Edwards,
I
Carlos,
don't get the Joseph Martinez.
And Marshall Ruddy. Joseph Martinez had 2 assists in that game, which was good.
Yeah.
But those defenders, let's see. Edwards, Carlos both had shutouts, but Edwards is getting it for his pass. Marshall Ruddy did not have a shutout. How do you not have Jesus David Murillo in there?
Jean-Kiel Marshall Ruddy did play well.
So
and he is the wonder kid, 17 years of age,
I know.
Brampton, Ontario, valued by Toronto FC at $20 million. So if you want him, you're going to have to pay. Trained at Arsenal and Liverpool.
What about Steve Tarundolo not getting a shout as the... Gary Smith's a known quantity. He went out and played Gary Smith ball against Seattle and basically stole the...
I don't hate the Gary Smith call.
I think the Gary Smith call is just to give Nashville a little bit more credit instead of giving them a
they got Godoy in there.
Yeah, they got Godoy in there.
I mean, it's not a bad Team of the Week, but I feel like there's a weird inconsistency between statistics and then just like what they thought. So there's some players that are like, oh, they put stats on the board, and then some players that are like,
right,
he's 17, he played good.
Yeah, that's where it gets.
I don't get that.
And then a guy, Martinez has 2 assists, and you put him in there, he's not known.
Well, Estrada, to his point, scores 2 goals. He's a forward, right?
Yeah, and he's not up there.
Should be on the Team of the Week.
And Yimi Chara and Dominguez are also both forwards, yet they're in that 5-man midfield. There's too much. It's just too much.
Do you know what I like?
A lot of things.
Talking to the chat.
Okay. Well, what about it?
Do you guys want to ask us some questions?
It could be about his shirt.
No, it could be about anything. It could be about my shirt. It could be about MLS this week.
It could be about Vince's back.
Your words
Yeah, if you guys want to check on my back
are what
situation.
controls us for the next couple minutes.
Okay.
What if they don't ask any questions?
Yeah, what if
though?
they don't ask any questions?
Hey, then we get to wrap
Well,
this up.
somebody asked Raheem Edwards, question mark. Good for Raheem. It would be good to him get some tenure at a club. Did well at LAFC. Remember, he was on an expansion list initially. So if he can become a regular for the Galaxy, this is a guy who's put his work in. We're all pulling for a guy like Raheem.
I
I
think
mean, that
this
left
is,
back spot is for him to win.
I
It's
think
open.
the Raheem Edwards we see at the Galaxy is exactly what Raheem Edwards was a little bit destined to do after his Toronto FC days. He needed to fit in a system like the Galaxy's and kind of cement a starting spot. And then he went, obviously, after Toronto FC, and we traded him to Montreal. Then he went to Chicago for a bit. Then he went to Minnesota. He didn't really fit. And even with LAFC, things didn't click. And now he's back with Greg Van Dien, and I think he'll.
Yeah,
This
his current coach is the one. That,
This is a big story that we probably should talk on, is the Sergio Ramos rumors. And it was initially to the Galaxy, who have 3 DPs. Sergio Ramos at PSG hasn't played a lot. He makes crazy money. I don't know
not going
how
to
you're going to
Galaxy.
pay him.
Yeah.
And no one pays defenders that kind of money. So I don't think. And look, Don Garber came out and said this is not a retirement league. When Neymar came and said, I want to come to MLS so I can have 3 months off. That's not going to cut it. You got to want to come here because you want to. And it's not going to help you, even if you're a legendary figure, unless you come in here with conviction. That's why it's going to be pressure on Sheridan Shaqiri, who's 30. Same with Lorenzo Insigne. You got to come here to produce.
do you think he can? I think he can.
Insigne?
No,
For
Sergio
all
Ramos.
I think he'd be good, but not at what, $10 million a year, which
no,
is probably
you can't
what.
pay him $10 million a year.
I
but
just-
that's what Miami will give him.
Might make that back in jersey sales.
No,
No, no.
I want to.
That's a good question. Anybody want to hear how jersey sales never get paid back for that? 'Cause you don't.
I want to
Yeah, I
just
know.
jump in here and say really quickly, although I love your questions about LAFC, specifically how they're playing, maybe save those questions for the LAFC show and maybe talk about some MLS. We like talking about MLS for the MLS show, but we also do love talking LAFC on the LAFC show.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, we wanted to really do this show not just because it branches out, but we are all big MLS fans. Like you, will
MLS
catch-
geeks.
I watched a lot of MLS.
Yeah, you will catch us, hitting up that ESPN Plus and watching out-of-market games. I watched probably 4 games this weekend, which I always get that question from my significant other. Are you working, or is this for fun? And I have to lie and say it's just for fun, which it is. But I am working too, and I really do enjoy watching MLS games. So
Did
if
Bryce
you have
Duke
MLS questions,
suit
it'd be
me
better.
up? I wish.
No, did he suit up? Did not. Right?
What do you got?
Are you asking, did Bryce Duke suit up Connor? Or
Okay.
did Bryce Duke suit up
I'm a Connor.
Kevin S., let's do this one. Let's do top 3 kits, but you can't use LAFC.
Okay.
Now that you saw them being played in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, I'll tell you something that kind of changed my mind. And it didn't really change my mind because I really fell in love with it. So the NYCFC kit, how we were talking about how it conjured up images of Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie. I didn't realize this until I was at the game at Bank of California Stadium. Their supporters group, the Third Rail, if you look at that logo in the hand, they have that same exact line. So that little line on the NYCFC kit was actually like an homage to the Third Rail. I sort of dug that, made me appreciate that jersey a bit more.
Okay. I
Good
like
explanation.
that. I do like little hidden Easter eggs for just your fans. So you could say we could look at it and go, I don't get it. But you saw it, and that's kind of cool. That's cool. It's actually nice. It's refreshing that MLS teams are taking it. I would say Portland is one of my favorites, and that's another
It looked
one
good
I like.
in play, too. It looked good on the players.
Yeah, it was.
Portland.
It does not look as good just the shirt, but with the short combo, the maroon shorts, the white socks, that's pretty
I like
solid.
Miami, Inter Miami, too, with the collars.
It's
and
growing on me, Miami.
It's a proper pink, which is a great color for soccer teams around the world. We think of Palermo and some other teams.
I'll just go with Miami and
R.I.P.
Columbus
Palermo.
purely on the fact that they just went back to their actual colors. I'm glad that Miami went to pink, and I'm glad Columbus went back to yellow. So just off
They
of
call
that.
it gold, bro.
Gold. You're yellow and black. Don't say gold. Get out of here. That's yellow.
I guess another thing, just to kind of piggyback, as much as I love the Portland jersey, a buddy of mine, Ron, who's probably about your age, I'd say, mentioned the fact that I didn't mean that in a bad way.
So
I didn't mean that in a bad way. It was just
I
highlighting
just said,
the
my
fact that
dad,
he
he's
was-
about your age.
He's 75?
Oh, see, that was
Sorry.
a lot worse
That
than
was
what
a
I
cheap
said.
shot.
What
That
he
was
said about the
very
Portland
cheap.
kid kind of made
Expect more
sense
from
to
you
me.
than these.
It looked like older furniture. And when
It
I
does.
thought about that,
Looks
I'm
like the
like,
upholstery of your grandma.
does look like you can
like
smell
would have-
mothballs a bit
yes,
on
and you
it.
would have the plastic on it and like cat pee and never mind.
I like
No, I
that.
think that's a good shout.
I like this question from Chris. What MLS X Wooden Spoon contender team looked most improved? So somebody that was really bad last
Austin.
year.
Austin.
Austin
Austin.
FC, 5-0.
Tell you who
Opening day.
wasn't. San Jose.
Ooh.
We didn't talk about them at all of this show.
Yeah,
That's a bad
that's the
scene,
point.
man.
You don't talk about San
Almeida
Jose.
trying to just set a bomb and detonate it while he's still there.
That
He's
just
talking
doesn't-
about how he's like 10 months left on my contract and I'm out. We didn't sign the players I wanted. Like he's not doing that.
To
team
hear
any
this-
favors.
I think him cutting his hair was an indication that he was dropping bombs.
To hear him say that at the beginning of the season, if you're saying, I feel for the Earthquake fans, you're like, what's going on? I mean, and they were active. They brought in Jamiro Montero. They brought in a couple players to help them, but it doesn't look like they're going to be in the playoffs. It looks like they're going to take some bad results because of the way they play. You know, and this is part of that Bielsa tree, so to speak. You know, Marcelo Bielsa out. It's like that kind of style, very hard to maintain, and losing a little traction on the world stage in various destinations.
Jesse
Also
Marsh
in a league where
going,
you can play in temperatures that are too hot throughout the summer. Your roster's not as deep. Like it works in Argentina where you can put like the fear of God into these guys, and it's kind of built in. Like Bielsa-ism is built into the Argentine DNA. I don't think you can come and do that everywhere.
So he's had a long spell there. He's had a long spell with very limited results.
All right, no, one more. A producer wants me to move on, but I want to get one more from Max. Max is not doing his DP rankings. We're going to do that once a month. But Max, could you give us just a little
player.
hint of like who, if you were doing it today, what would be
You just
your
mentioned it a little
surprise?
bit earlier.
Was it Driussi?
Yeah.
Kind of getting in there. I think Driussi might slip into the top 10. Lodero will probably drop a little bit, although he played in the Champions League and came off the bench for Seattle. Interesting. I didn't have Joseph Martinez in there. I probably should have. He'll probably be in there for now. And I think Carlos, who was at number 2, moves to number 1. And Chicharito, who was 3, probably moves to number 2.
Okay. Well, if you love Max's DP rankings, you got to join the show every week. We're going to have him do it once a month. So it gives some time to have some movement, because if he does it every week, it might stay the same because DPs are supposed to be consistent. All right, let's move it along. The show's wrapping up. We're going to go to stoppage time. Who is up first? This is basically our chance to give just a 1-minute rant of something we're thinking about in the MLS sphere. And Max Bretos, the voice of LAFC, is up first. What is your stoppage
Remind me
time?
what it was. Oh, yeah, keep an eye on young talent. I touched on that. I couldn't read my handwriting for a moment, but I could see where it is.
Show everyone
It
the
is.
handwriting?
It's right there, handwriting.
It's a lot prettier
Keep
than
an eye
mine.
on the young talent, domestic and abroad. We saw guys play important roles within this team. Gaga Slonina looks like he's going to be the number 1. Shaquille Marshall-Ruddy. Caleb Wiley scoring the goal. Paxton Aronson came off the bench but looked good when he did. Guys that we're not going to see a lot in this league because the European teams have these guys in their crosshairs. It's quick. We think of Brian Reynolds. He had a good few months to play. He moves to Roma. MLS is a league now where you used to get a good deal. You could still get a good deal. It's not as good as it used to be, but still much better than if you got a guy in Brazil or Argentina. American talent is on the up and up, and it's not just the American talent. The young South American talent has been very good as well. So keep an eye on the talent. It's a nice subplot when you watch games. Look where they're playing and tune in. So you can tell your friends, you can tell your guys on the panel, yeah, I seen that guy. I saw him first. That's a good. That's
Very
a good.
hip.
Good, I like that. Right to the camera.
dismount.
My stoppage time is that Major League Soccer is the most entertaining league in the entire world. And say what you want. Say what you want about the level of play and promotion relegation. First week back, every single matchup this week was unbelievably exciting. The whether it's the Carlos Vela hat trick, the Yimi Chara bicycle kick. There's so many storylines they couldn't even fit on one whole page. You know what I mean? The fact that we're even getting through this, and look, we've had to miss some talking.
I had to
points.
bring up San Jose. We weren't going to talk about them at all.
There's
So-
games you're
so-
going to miss. You can't miss 14 games. a
Again,
weekend.
say what you want about the level of play. In these past 5-10 years, it has gone unbelievably better. On top of that, the amount of players, whether it's young South American players or
Young
not as
domestic.
many older European guys coming to the league, this league is growing across all corners, and it's amazing to watch. And on top of that, it's just fun. Each team is fun in its own way. It's new, it's contemporary, it's modern, it's hip, and it's fun. I don't want this to be another Premier League. Why can't we appreciate that there's no promotion relegation? Why can't we appreciate it that there's domestic trades? It's fun when it's unique. Y'all complain too much.
Wow, you turned that quick, huh? It's your fault.
He's like, let's all be friends, but no! All right, Philly, you're up.
The MLS Cup will be in LA. And the question is, which LA? And obviously, coming into
Are you
this,
tipping your hand, or are you just gonna?
I mean,
Way to hedge your bets.
I mean, yeah, you can hedge your bets that way. Obviously, with 2 teams being in LA, that gives you a higher probability, mathematically speaking, like 2 divided by the number of MLS. Anyway.
There's technically 2 teams in New York too, but.
Well, no, that's not true. The team is in New Jersey. Get that right. As a native New Yorker, I take offense to that. Harrison is not New York.
Oh,
Just
man.
saying.
I almost got a whole
10-minute
Stoppage
path
time.
train.
All right, let him go on his rant. Let's go.
I mean, that kind
finish it out.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I was very cautious coming into the season about LAFC. Obviously, it took a little while for the team to be assembled. We didn't know what was going to go on. And then as the roster started coming together, you started going from cautious to slightly cautiously opt. And after this last performance, it's more cautiously optimistic. They've really plugged in some holes within the midfield. Ilie Sanchez had an absolutely outstanding game, and he didn't make that many mistakes. The defense looked good. For the fact that they were able to stop Colorado on attacking set pieces speaks volumes. So that's my argument for one side of the LA team. The other LA team, they also look pretty good. They grinded it out with a really tough NYCFC team, despite the fact that they went and played a couple of days ago. It was an exciting match. Hard fought, 44 fouls. Raheem Edwards might find some new life.
Now Raheem's getting a lot of pub out here.
Well, maybe
Speaking of
he's fueled by
44.
some of the tweets he's been reading on Twitter. But to see Chicharito maybe come into form, if they can plug in some of the holes in their back line, we might see 2 LA teams battle it out in the Western Conference. I think one of those 2 LA teams will make it to the MLS Cup. That's my thought.
All right.
Everyone loved the New Jersey rant, so that's good.
That is good. That is good.
Yeah, I could do a rant about it.
For my stoppage time, me and Isaiah from the chat, we're on the same page. The only thing that matters in MLS is goals, and that's why you need a number 9. Look at that Galaxy match. Galaxy, that was a quintessential Galaxy match. They didn't do much. They kept it at 0-0 in the 89th minute. You have your star player who's a finisher, finish it off. When you have a guy like that, you can win games in MLS, games that you probably shouldn't win. On the flip side of that, you have RSL Houston, a 0-0 game. Now, Houston did go out and get themselves a 9 in Sebastian Ferreira, who I think is going to be very good, but he's new to this league.
Steve
RSL
Clark played good.
has nothing. He played okay, but if you have yourself a 9, you give yourself a chance in this league. Michael Estrada comes in for DC. You got to get goals. All that matters is goals in this league, and to do that, you have to have a goal scorer that you can count on even when your team is not playing well.
Colorado, a perfect example. Doesn't have a number 9, and they suffered.
Yep, bingo.
Well, that was very, very fun. Thank you guys.
That was a show.
For watching.
That was a show.
It was
like a rubber ducky.
a show.
It doesn't look like a snake.
No, it looks like a rubber ducky.
It does. It does.
Well, don't
Pato.
forget, everyone, the 110 Football Show is also available as a podcast. We know some of you love our content, but can't stand to look at Vince's face for too long. So we've solved your problem, okay? Just search 110 Football wherever you get your podcast, and you will see all of our shows on the same channel, okay? Bang, easy, just like that. I want to thank all of you individually. This was very fun, second show. I want to thank you guys for sticking around, especially after those technical difficulties. I heard
you
that
guys
it
hung in
sounded
there.
like we were
It was a
underwater.
test. We wanted to see how many people really wanted to stick
Hey,
around.
but tell your friends, because this is the MLS show. I'm sure you have
MLS
friends
show.
that follow teams other than LAFC, other than the Galaxy. We're going to cover it all here at the MLS show, so come join us.
So thank you guys, and we will see you next week.